Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look, and you'll see into your imagination. Welcome back to Good Germs Off-Road Adventures. Hello. I'm sorry for that intro, but you know what? Whatever. As you can see, we've got Billy Badass there. He's up on a lift, and well, a lot of the front end is missing and in a bin over there, and some of it's over there. And the reason for that is we're going to rebuild the differential in the front of the thing, and it's not really a differential, it's a front gear case. Yes, I'm aware it's not a differential, but we're going to rebuild it. And there it is. It's there, and it used to be there. And yes, it really is necessary to take that much stuff off the front to get that out. Where it sits is right behind the radiator, which sits right behind a bit of the frame. This bit of the frame, to be exact. This part, whoops, no, don't fall off the thing. There's the radiator. Had to take that out. The radiator's bigger than I thought, if I'm honest. Of course, the front bumper is there, and then, you know, the rack and the thing is there, and the axles, well, they're down there. Yep. And there's radiator juice. That's about half of it. The rest of it went all over the floor. That's why there's some rags and some dark spots. So some of you might ask, why would you want to rebuild the front gear case for Billy Badass on the 700 here? Well, if you watched the first ride video, there's a part where we climb a hill, and I discovered instead of being 4-wheel drive, it was 3.5 wheel drive, maybe 2.5 wheel drive. I'm not really sure. The left and right side kept going in and out on the front end, and if you know the Polaris, they're all 4 wheels engaged. When they're in 4-wheel drive, all 4, they're locked. There is no slip-in, no visco lock thing like you find on the Can-Ams. It is just locked. But not for Billy. Now, that may, or may not, have something to do, I'm sure it has nothing to do with when I was trying to get the old axles out, just beating the snot out of that gear case, trying to get the old axles out and beating on the cups where the axles go in and everything else. And there's typically a plastic cage in there that they're known to break if you abuse them. I'm sure it has nothing to do with that. No, and it probably has everything to do with that. So anyway, what we're going to do is go ahead and rebuild it. And, well, we've got the parts to do that, and we're going to sit down and do that. I'm going to go ahead and put on some gloves now, because I expect... Why did my phone just vibrate in my pocket? No. The Ring neighborhood stuff. It's ridiculous. Just put the phone over there. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put on some gloves for a couple of reasons. One, I've nicked my finger up pretty good trying to get the gear case out, and honestly, it's a little swollen. I'm not real happy about that. It's that finger right there. It hurts. Where was I? Gloves. Well, I don't know what's in here. It's already filthy on the outside. Don't really know what's in it. We're going to go ahead and get it apart. Parts. We have a brand new armature plate, brand new roller pins, rollers. Now these are from Caltrick. We also have a brand new aluminum, or for those of you in England land, aluminium roller cage. You can get a plastic one if you want. And then this came from Eastlake Axle. This here is a kit of seals. These apparently are all the seals for that. We're just gonna put all this stuff over here because we don't need it anytime soon. We need to disassemble this. I have not yet drained the fluid, so what we're going to do is pick this up, put it over here. Now preemptively, I was prepared, and I went into the kitchen and I borrowed one of the wife's baking sheets right here. So she uses this to make cookies and so forth on, and we're going to use this to disassemble this guy. So I think first off, we're just going to put this on here, and we'll start taking it apart. Today I'm going to go for an air-powered Ooga Dooga machine, mainly because I've been using the electric one so much that I just miss the sound of the air-powered Ooga Doogas. So that's what we're going to do. These are 1/2-inch bolts. Is that a crack? No. Yeah. There's a crack right here. Somebody's been in here before. I'll have to show you what I mean when we get there. I'm going to take that bolt out first. Well, that came out pretty easily. Yeah. Okay. I think I need something to pry on it, but this part right here, yeah, see, that's not good. That's been cracked. That tells me somebody has been in here before. It's not a great sign, not a great starting point. Anyway, let me find something to pry this open. You know, when I bought this quad, it didn't have much in the way of miles or hours on it. It's got me wondering how true that really is. That was part of the appeal of it. It was low hours, low miles, but I'm starting to wonder if it was run a lot, maybe with the some things disconnected. I really don't know, but I'm starting to slowly see here and there signs of it has more going on with it than you think. That crack or that broken bit. And somebody's been in there, I know, because there was silicone on it, which means we're going to put some silicone back on it when we go to put this back together. How does this... Oh, here it comes. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, this is the heavy side that has the ring gear on it. The good thing is there's an O-ring that would have kept that sealed. Yeah, that's the good news. This stinks. And there's some metal. I don't know, you can see that real good. Look at that. That's exactly why I went and borrowed one of the wife's cookie sheets. Those bearings on the pinion, those feel good. There's a bit of a thrust bearing in here, which is toast, and that's probably going to be a problem. I don't know if you can see that here. Right here, this is supposed to be a bearing, and it's, well, destroyed. That's probably something that I did to it. Here's the cage and rollers. And surprisingly, the cage is not, it's not broken. The rollers went everywhere. That's fine. There's a lot of them. We've got a new cage and rollers we're going to install. There's bits of that thrust bearing all over, and that's why I'm assuming we have all this metal everywhere. My question is, how does this ring gear come off to get to the armature plate? There's bits in there we need to get to. But anyway, this is the inside of a Polaris thing. Here's the gasket for the main housing. Basically how this works is you've got this cage that sits in here with rollers, right? And the armature plate, you've got basically a little magnet in here. That armature plate will, when it's magnetized, it'll grab this roller thing, so when this goes to turn on it, it just locks in place. And it would turn on that because the rear axle was turning and the front wasn't, but you gave it electricity. And then I'm not describing it very well. There's other videos that describe how these work, but I'm actually really quite shocked that this is in okay shape. Huh. Usually these will be toast. Let's see. Let's see how easy this comes off. Same size bolts, which is nice. And how do we get this off? I don't know. Oh, there we go. Use the back end of the screwdriver because it's plastic. And why do I see silicone in here? People, stop it with the silicone. All right, just stop it. Why has somebody been in here already? Okay. There you can get a good shot of the bearing that this thing sits in, and that bearing's in good shape. It is smooth. It is smooth as a baby's hind end. So that's good. Now what? I don't know now what. Well, let me do some research, and I also need to get all of this cleaned up real nice, and I'll just catch back up to you when I've done some of that. Well, I don't know if I've been recording, but I'll see if I can catch you up on what I didn't record. I managed to get the ring gear off. This is the heaviest part. This thing is heavy. Managed to get the ring gear off. It literally just kind of popped off. Couple screwdrivers on either side, and it right there came off. Got down to the bearing on this seems okay. It's smooth, but I think there might be a bit of the thrust washer bearing needle bits in here. So we're gonna have to clean this. I don't really want to replace that bearing only because it's really difficult and it's actually really expensive. Down here, we've got our spacer, which, you know, rides sort of there. This had a couple of bits of the thrust bearing on it, but I've been messing with it when I thought I was recording earlier. And then the armature plate, it does have grooves on the back, but they're not, you can't feel them, you can only see them. So this is probably okay. Plus, the new one doesn't look like this, and it's not even the same size. So this here's the new one. As you can see, it's not, well, I guess it is the same size, but it's not exactly like the old one. Also, the thrust washer or thrust bearing, this is kind of what's left of it. And there was bits of it all over the inside, and I was able to get the inside of this case cleaned out pretty good. And you can see right there on that shaft where that thrust bearing was sitting, just kind of making a mess. A little bit of a gouge down in there. It looks like I see a chunk of metal, so more cleaning is going to be necessary in all of these parts. to get them nice and clean before we reassemble. Now, obviously I don't have a thrust bearing, so I'm gonna have to order that. I'm gonna do some research on some different parts now that I have the model number off the case. The parts I ordered are for 2003 700 front gear case, but there's so many different models of these things from Polaris, you just don't ever know. So I'm gonna clean these parts up some more. I popped the axle cups, you know, the output cups or output, whatever you want to call, out of the both sides of the case. And I found some more of our thrust bearing. I don't know if you can see all those chunks down there, but those are bits and pieces of that thrust bearing. That's not lovely. More cleaning to do and more research to do. The other side didn't really look like that. It was, you know, pretty clean. But these bearings, though, that does not sound lovely, and that also does not sound lovely. The only bearing that does sound lovely is the one on the pinion. But you know, that one was in a place where the bits of the thrust bearing weren't going to get to it. Anyway, like I said, I'll come back to you later. All right, folks. Well, it is a couple of days later. Actually, it's a lot of days later. And we found ourselves in a bit of a pickle, a dilemma, if you will. Let me explain. So here are all of the bits that make up our front gear case, front differential. I don't like calling it a differential, but you know. And you know, the cage, excuse me. And you know, the cage, which is what I assumed was broken, is the only bit really that's not broken. Example, I'm gonna see if I can get nice and close to this bearing here and see if you can hear it. Well, it's really not that loud, but it gets caught sometimes as you turn it around, and it's not exactly smooth. There's a mosquito eater right there, go away. And then we get to the bearings here. This one is okay. This one is not okay. Whoops, sorry, out of camera. This one is not okay. It's very rough and noisy, which you can't really hear it right now, but that's, you know, that's fine. Oh, wait, now it's stuck. There we go. And then add to that the pilot, or that cup right here is pretty chewed up for some reason. We know the reason. That's from beating on this thing with a hammer to get the old axles out. And then, of course, we had the thrust bearing. That's all that was left of that. And bits of this thrust bearing went all over the insides of this gear case. So let's grab this side. And it's kind of hard to make out, but if you look carefully, you can see a bit of a glitter band in there. And this is where that giant bearing lives. It goes in there, but you can see it's got a nice healthy groove in there from bits of bearing. And then we have this case, which doesn't look bad here, except not all of the case is present. You know, we've got one of the ears missing there, and the rest of it is there. The ring gear itself, it's actually fine. And then the pinion gear, which is this guy, again, is fine. And this bearing's actually pretty good. That's because where this sits in the gear case, I don't think bits of the thrust bearing, the needles, found their way into this. And we know somebody's been in here before because there's silicone there. And there was silicone here, and there still is some right there where that ear was broken off. This bushing, it's fine. Let me see, that's a new part. And the armature plate, while it's grooved on this side, it's actually smooth to the touch. So I would say that this is actually fine as well. But herein lies the dilemma. There is a rebuild kit from Caltrick that includes everything we would need. It includes this particular case side, because apparently it's common for these to break, I'm guessing. I don't know. It includes new ring gear, pinion gear, bearing, both of these things with bearings on them. It includes the thrust bearing, all the seals. It's about $240-ish. Oh, it includes a new aluminum cage, rollers, all the stuff we already have and don't need. The one thing it does not include is this bearing right here. In fact, this bearing appears to be unobtainium, meaning can't get it from Polaris anymore, can't find it on the Amazon website. I happened to find one on the QuadLogic website. Now, QuadLogic makes a kit that has everything we just mentioned except for the case, half that we need because it's broken. That kit is about $300. That case side that we need is about $100 and change, depending on where you get it from. So that puts us to rebuild this here front diff gear case at about $400 and some change dollars. That's a lot of dollars for a four-wheel drive system that doesn't get used all that much. And before you say, what are you going to do? Remove the four-wheel drive system? I am not. I'm going to do something a little different. So here's what we're going to do. I was nosing around on the Amazon website, as you do, and came across a bunch of these. You might be thinking to yourself, well, Jizza, that looks like a brand new gear case, and you would be correct. This is a brand new gear case. It is of unknown brand. Literally, we don't know what brand it is. It came from a place on the other side of an ocean. That's okay, because all of the parts that we would need to rebuild that also come from a place, the same place on the other side of the ocean. So let's have a look at this thing. It's the right shape. We have the wire coming out for the magnet. And the wire is sticky, but the wire has the right plug, so that's good. It has the right number of bolts. What appears to be the correct pinion gear mounting. The same play the original one would have, that's okay. I don't know what that does. It's also not on the original, this thing there, whatever that is. We have whoa, bump the camera. We have the vent here, for vent. Ooh, there's gas in there. Okay. We have the output shafts, of course. I mean, there's our fill plug, and our drain plug is back here. It's got some numbers stamped in it. That's okay. And we did cross-reference this with the actual model number listed here, 1341344. Looking to replace your unit, look for that model number. You'll probably find it. So all in all, this looks like it's pretty good. Now they've got a little judgment mark there because it has a warranty, but we don't know how good the warranty is at all. I'll put a link in the Amazon description, I'll put an Amazon link in the video description down below in case anybody wants this for their unit. But yep, this was $330 and it's complete. The only thing I don't know is what cage it has inside. So I'll be honest, there is a large part of me that kind of wants to open this thing up and see if they've put a plastic cage or an aluminum cage in this thing. So what do you think? Should we open this thing up, crack it open? I know it's got a paint mark. I guess first let's check the warranty and make sure we're not going to void any warranty. I don't know, I'm a little nervous. That does turn. How about the one on this side? Yep, that turns. Everything feels really, really smooth. That turns, feels smooth. Obviously there's no oil in this. We will have to put oil in it before we put it in, you know, back in Billy over there. I say let's let it ride. We'll just install it the way it is. We'll put some oil in it, but we'll install it the way it is. Look, it'll either work or it won't. So these gear cases only take about 5 ounces or so of fluid. This fluid, and demand drive fluid. So what I'm going to do is overfill it, if I can get this off. There she goes. I'm going to go ahead and overfill it, and then I'm going to kind of work all of the, does it have a gasket? Yeah, a metal gasket, that's fine. Anyway, I'm going to overfill it, and then I'm going to work this fluid all through the internals here, and then I'm going to stand it upright and let the excess come back out. Just want to make sure I get fluid in all of the places. That is going to be way overfilled. We know that because it's burping back out. It doesn't hold a lot, like I said. We know that that's way overfilled. That's okay, because we're going to put the lid back on it there. Let's wipe that off. Yeah, put this lid back on it. Here. I think the original lid had like a rubber, bit of a rubber gasket on this particular spot. Okay. Well, let's just start turning stuff. Stand them upright. Now, one thing I've also done is I have made sure, excuse me, I have made sure that the splines for the axle, you know, where the axles go, that they are correct. I've taken the old axles, I didn't put them all the way in, but I set them in there and tested that out. And that was fine. I probably should have found something to set this on, because when I open that back up, it's going to leak out. Maybe we'll take this off now. We'll put it back on when we go to install it, so if we end up turning it around all weird, we don't spill it anywhere. That should have coated the ring gear nicely. Gets up in the Hillard clutches that are in here. Those feel nice. Okay. Let me find something to let that spill into. Now, I've got this big tub here, and I think this will work just fine. Let's put that over there. Can I pull it? Yeah, that's good. Let's put this in here where you can't see it. That's fine. There we go. And let's open this up, because remember, when you go to fill these, you fill them till liquid comes back out of the fill hole, and that's how you know they're full. And this being a new one might take more, I don't know. Oh no, it's over full. All right, that's enough. Okay. And it wasn't much that we were overfilled by. I don't know if you can see that. Just that amount right there. Stuff doesn't smell very nice. Let's put the lid back on this thing. Tighten this back up, and I'm going to want to clean this gear case off because I've now made it a bit oily. There we go. Very good. That does not smell good. And now one more thing before we install this. I want to put some grease here in the axle cups and on the shaft here for the pinion. Just makes things a little easier down the road. We don't need a lot, just a how you doing amount is all you really need. Like that's probably too much. That'll do. Go in here with some, and I'm going to put some grease on into the axles too before we stab them back in. That way, we need to take them out again. They'll come out. Yep. Okay. So now really all that's left to do is install that brand new gear case in Billy, which is right, well, he's right there. The trickiest part is getting that prop shaft that comes from the transmission comes forward up to the pinion on the back side of this gear case. That's the trickiest part, is getting that lined up so you can put your roll pin in. And you kind of have to do that, get it set onto that shaft before you get it bolted down, and then do the roll pin after you get it bolted. Anyway, I have to move the quad. It may or may not have fallen off of the lift stand it was on because all of that weight was missing from the front. The front tires and axles, gear case, radiator, frame bits were all missing. So it got real light in the front, and I just went to move it, and it maybe have fallen off. So now it's being held up by a 4x4 piece of wood. The rear wheel's set nicely on the ground, but we got a piece of wood there holding it up. So I need to get a lift back under this thing and get it moved without making a bunch more coolant come out. That's fine, we have towels. Anyway, don't have a lot of room because there's a wall there, so we need to move it a little bit. So I am aware that I've got this set up in a position that's not exactly easy to see, but it's the best I could do. Somebody left the radiator hose just dangling in the way. That's fine. There it goes. Now, is it lined up? It honestly looks like it's lined up. Well, that's neat. I think we've driven it too far in, but that's okay. We can move it. Yeah, that looks lined up. Now, I did also check the threads on the bottom of the gear case to make sure that they were correct for mounting purposes, and well, they're correct. So that's, that's nice. Okay, mounted. All right, so now that we're mounted, kind of a little bit of a tricky bit is getting the roll pin set. So I'm going to get a screwdriver that is no bigger than the roll pin, and I'm just going to feed it through the hole. And that looks good as far as, it'd be nice if that wasn't just in the way. So then I'm going to take the roll pin, a drift, and an air hammer and try to get this thing in here. Oh, if I don't drop it. There we go. Now it should feed straight in. Now you can do this with a regular hammer too. Just an air hammer makes it real easy. Perfect. Lovely. Right. So from here, I don't feel like I need to show it all, the whole process to you. I'll talk you through it real quick. The front diff, it's back in. So now we need to run that wire right there that's got the connector on it, you know, the sticky wire that we don't know why is sticky. And it plugs in here. So it's got to come up there and plug in. Then we got to zip tie it to the frame like it was before. Then after we do that, we need to set the radiator back in. And then once we set the radiator back in, hook up all the hoses that we had to unhook from the radiator, and then plug in the fan control to the radiator, which is that one or that one. I don't remember, but if we look at the radiator, I'm looking at it right now. Well, one of them is the thermostat and one is the temperature sensor and one is the fan control. Doesn't matter which one is which because they can only plug into the places that they can go, you know what I mean. Plug all that in. This is the place where the voltage regulator is connected. It actually loops around down here where there's a bit of frame that goes there and attaches to that bit of frame. Plug it in. I discovered when taking this apart, the positive lead to that voltage regulator was disconnected, which may be why the speedometer quit working right about the same time I installed those aux beam lights. That might make sense. So anyway, once all that is done, then we're going to come over to each side, put the axle hub end through the strut, gently tap it into the right there, the diff thing that we just put in, and then we will connect it to the lower A-arm, and then we'll connect the steering rod to it, and then we'll, on this side, put the brakes back on. Put the rotor back on. The rotor's right there, rotor and hub right there. And then we'll put the brake caliper back on, and on this side you put the speedometer sensor. That's this guy right here. It's just a Hall effect sensor, nothing special. And then on this side we do the exact same thing, except we don't have to connect the speed sensor. Now, once all that is done, then we need to refill the radiator with brand new coolant, because the old coolant was gross because I put it in a dirty, plus it, you know, it's old and it needs new coolant. Anyway, we're going to put new coolant in it, fire it up, get it burped, and test out the new front gear case. So I'll catch back up with you when most of that is done. Well, hello. Listen, it's tomorrow again. Got most of the Sportsman 700, aka Billy Badass, put together last night and then kind of called it a night. And let me show you exactly where we're at. I guess I'll just start with this view. You can see the nice shiny new gear case differential up in there. Axles are plugged in. It's all hooked up. Frames installed again up here. Obviously radiator, all the electronic things are hooked up. And now it's time to fill the radiator back up. This is all I have of this, so let's just hope it's enough. I like to use this funnel here. You just kind of pour it in. Well, that's everything. It'll go down eventually. The idea is you're supposed to have more than that in here, so when you're running it, trying to burp it, it burps. Listen, I didn't expect to run out of coolant so quick, so we're just going to go ahead and start it and make sure we have four-wheel drive and or two-wheel drive. We're just not going to let it get hot because I don't have any more coolant. I'm going to check just to make sure. Yeah, I don't have any more, so I'm going to have to get some more. But that's all right. We can go ahead and start it and make sure that we did the good thing. Now, it has been quite a while since this old dude's been started. Not really sure how it's going to react. But here we go. Starts up right away. This vibrating's going to get me. Oh, I tell you what, I never get tired of the way this thing sounds. Haha. Well, let's just go ahead and put it in low. We should only get rear wheels spinning. Okay. Let's put it in four-wheel drive. See if we get them all. Wow. I do know that sometimes you got to put them in reverse. There we go. I just learned something right now too that I've never noticed before. I'm not sure if this has ever worked before, but check this out when you turn all-wheel drive on. So there's the switch. Check this out. It's got a light in there. I didn't know it had a light in there. I just put it in reverse and that light went out. Now if I push this, oh, it comes back on when I push the override. That's cool. Well now, it seems that our repair, meaning replacement, because it was cheaper to replace with a new one than repairing the old one, worked out pretty good. And I think that's going to do it. I had fully intended on honestly getting this thing fully assembled, but the way the front of this thing is made, you can't really put any of this back on until you've gotten the coolant situated there. You can't put the rack, anything, because this, you just can't do it. So, listen, I think that'll do it. And it goes to show why fix what you can replace. No, it should be why replace what you can fix. But in this case, we could have fixed it, but it made more sense to replace it. Sure. Listen, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. Y'all ride safe and you work in your shop safe. Just be safe, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye now.